Hey guys, welcome back. All right, today we're going to talk about unicorns. All right, don't tune me out here. There's actually a secular publication that just came out a couple days ago confirming unicorns. I thought this was interesting because the Bible does actually mention unicorns. So let's jump into this. There's actually 9 instances in the King James Bible. If you read other versions, they call it an ox, but we're going to dive into this. It says in Psalm 29:6, we'll start with this first scripture. It says, "He maketh them also to skip like a calf, Lebanon and Syrian like a young unicorn." So the word unicorn is actually found 9 times in the King James Bible. And when you think of unicorns, you think of just like a horse with a long horn on it. There's rainbows. These things are flying around all over the place. No, this is just what happens over time as people talk about things. Things get diluted and things tend to get made up. And now these creatures are supposedly mythological. But the original Hebrew word, as you can see here, for unicorn, it just means beast with a horn. That's all a unicorn is. And you'll see all throughout the Bible, well, not all throughout, 9 instances, talks about the unicorn. So, Job 39, 9 through 12. And if you haven't read the book of Job, you got to read the book of Job. It's an awesome book. But it says, "Will the unicorn be willing to serve thee, or abide by thy crib? Canst thou bind the unicorn with his band in the furrow, or will he harrow the valleys after thee? Wilt thou trust him because his strength is great? Or wilt thou leave thy labor to him? Wilt thou believe him that he will bring home thy seed and gather it into thy barn?" So this is some type of massive beast. You're going to see here in just a minute. I'm going to read this article. It's just a massive beast with a horn. And obviously over time that word unicorn gets made fun of, but it's just been changed over the years. But back in the day in 1611 when this King James Bible was translated, this is the word they used. So here it is. Unicorns are more legit than you think. And what you have to remember is science is always catching up to the Bible. When you think about dinosaurs, in the Bible, they just call them dragons. And I hold the position, there's tons of evidence. You can watch my videos. Dinosaurs have always lived with man. A lot of people think I'm crazy. Well, I guess not a lot of people. The non-creationist people think I'm crazy. But I put up article after article after article on how the earth is probably thousands of years old and dinosaurs always lived with man. There's T-Rex femurs found with red blood cells in them and dinosaurs all over the world. But anyway, that's another topic. Watch my other videos. But it says, thanks to carbon dating, scientists have determined that the myth-inspiring animal may have lived among early humans. This is a secular source. This isn't coming from the Institute for Creation Research or these creationist websites. This is something totally different. When most people think of unicorns, they imagine mythological medieval horses with a horn protruding from their heads. And I always think it's funny. There's always like rainbows and wings coming from these things. That's all you see now. They might also consider the Chinese conception of unicorns, chimeric entities that represent wealth and prosperity. Or perhaps they envision the Greek interpretation based on Persian depictions of the majestic beast. Cultural variations aside, one thing's for sure. Many of us likely doubt unicorns ever existed and cast them aside to the yellowed pages of allegory and fairy tales. But the unicorn was real, in a sense, just not in the ways it's commonly depicted. In the past few years, scientific research has helped us learn more about this Ice Age giant. I'm not going to try to pronounce that word. That's a scientific name, but you can read it there. That may have inspired our tall tales. Uncovering the unicorn's origins. As it turns out, it's also known as a Siberian unicorn, actually shared a common ancestor with a group that includes today's rhinoceros. And the rhinoceros, obviously one horn, which is beast with a horn. And although no horns have been discovered, analysis of unicorn skull shows a massive base where a horn would sit. So they're just basically a massive hole with nothing there. Contemporary rhinos weigh anywhere between 1,500 to 3,000 pounds in adulthood. The Siberian unicorn was far more massive and may have measured up to 2 times that size. And if you look at fossils, all animals are found to be like double the size. If you look at dragonflies, frogs, all the animals were bigger. And I can't prove this, but when the flood happened, and the Bible actually does talk about there was probably another layer to the atmosphere, but the whole entire atmosphere in Earth was more condensed. So there was more oxygen, so animals could live longer. And it says, while rhinos are grazing animals that move at a slow pace, their Siberian relative had a shoulder hump, which indicated they can run long distances in open landscapes. Its distribution ranged from Kazakhstan and Siberia to Ukraine and southwest Russia, based on fossils found in Siberia. Archaeologists initially dated the extinction of the E. sibicurum the scientific name of the real unicorn to 350,000 years ago. And if you've been watching this YouTube channel any length of time, you know the way I feel about those hundreds of thousands of years, but we're not going to get into that right now. Recent evidence that that figure shifted significantly in 2018 when researchers determined that a unicorn may have survived up to roughly 35,000 years ago. Same thing on there. I disagree with the dates. According to a study published in Nature, Ecology, and Evolution, this suggests they lived among Neanderthals and modern humans. So unicorns lived with humans. Interesting. And could help explain, and again, unicorn, beast with one horn, some type of rhinoceros kind. We're going to talk about kinds here in just a minute. And can help explain the fantasy-filled unicorn stories we're familiar with today. Also in 2018, scientists who carbon dated and tested 23 fossils to learn more about the unicorn demonstrated that it split genetically from the modern rhino during the Eocene, which began around 56 million years ago. These dates, they drive me nuts. During this area, many modern animals made their first appearances, among giant terror birds and hoofed animals called condylarths. Humans began their first migrations to the area around that time as well. What remains unclear, the specifics behind the Siberian unicorn's extinction, while researchers won't rule out the possibility of human-spurred extinction via overhunting, the evidence points to shifts in climate that occurred at that time. Because the unicorn was poised to eat grass and only grass, it possibly couldn't survive the cold winters that eliminated animal sole source of calories. Around 43 million years ago, during the Eocene epoch, the unicorn likely split from modern rhinos in the course of evolution. Research suggests the unicorn was a chronospecies of modern rhinos. Chronospecies evolved from another species with slightly divergent characteristics over a long period of time. We're going to go over this in just a second. As this divergence occurred, the environment may not have been suitable for the survival of the Siberian unicorn and drove the beast to pseudo-extinction. This process occurs when one species survives an extinction in an evolved form, hence the modern rhino. So, the only point of that article I just wanted to bring out is I thought it was interesting, is basically just confirms the Bible about unicorns. And again, just beast with a horn, that's all it is, some type of rhinoceros. But the question is, what wiped out these things? And I should have put this slide on here, about 4,000 years ago, there was a flood. Noah's flood wiped out everything. And the only way something fossilizes is for it to be buried rapidly in mud. Stuff very rarely, if at all, ever fossilizes today. If you have a dog or cat that dies in its backyard, it's not going to fossilize. I know in this backyard right here, I got coyotes, I got foxes, I got black bears. We got some hawks back there, owls. Stuff isn't going to last very long. The bones are going to be split apart and going all over the place. They're going to get eaten. So that's the only way something fossilizes. It has to be buried rapidly. So Genesis talks about this. We're going to talk about a kind here. The reason I'm bringing this up is it talks about evolution, how these things evolved over millions of years or whatever. But this is just variations within the gene code. This is where, I want to say this right, where evolutionists, they get this mixed up. You have micro and macro evolution. And I'm very careful to use that word evolution, because micro is just variations within the gene code. If you have humans, we have humans with different colored skin. You have humans with blue eyes and brown eyes. You have humans with long hair, short hair, black hair. Look at rabbits. You have long hair and short-haired rabbits. These are just variations within the gene code. That doesn't mean that rabbits evolved from fish and evolved into birds. And this is what they tell you in textbooks, is it can be observed on a micro level of variations within the gene code. And it specifically says this in the book of Genesis. God is very specific. And I think I counted this. It was about 10 times just in chapter 1. It says animals will bring forth after their kind. So the question is, where did unicorns come from? And God created them, and they came off Noah's Ark. Probably a handful of them after most of them were wiped out from the flood. And it says right here, and God said, let the earth bring forth the living creature after his kind. And we're going to go in here in just a second what a kind is. If you haven't been here before, we're going to go over it. But if you've been here, this might be kind of redundant, but it's important just to keep talking about it. Cattle and creeping thing and beasts of the earth after his kind. And it was so, and God made the beasts of the earth after his kind, and cattle after their kind, and everything that creepeth upon the earth after his kind. And God saw that it was very good. So God is very specific to say that animals and bugs and all these things will reproduce after their kind. So the question is, that we get asked a lot, is what is a kind? So based on the taxonomic hierarchy, you have species, genus, family, order, class, phylum, kingdom. And by the way, this whole hierarchy here was created by man, not God. But creationists agree that a kind is probably most related to the family based on taxonomic rank. What's a family? Let's find out. Family is in turn more specific. Some families in the order Carnivora, for example, are Canidae, dogs, wolves, foxes, and they have one here for cats and skunks and bears. And there's a total of 12 different families in the order of just the Carnivora. So a kind, what does this mean? So look at these are the rhinoceroses. So again, just a beast with a long horn. You've got a white rhino, you've got a black rhino, you've got an Indian rhino, you have 5 different types of rhinos. If you look back and look at these pictures, you would say, you know what, these look like rhinos. And these are just variations within the gene code. You have red ones there, white ones, whatever the color, the black rhinos. And then the same thing with dogs. If you look at dogs, if you stand back, look at a dog, a wolf, a coyote, a jackal, and a fox, it looks like they probably came from some sort of same kind. No one knows what that originally was, but if you look back at these animals, they look pretty similar. And I would say this is 1 or 2 of these, or a handful of these were on the ark, and you created and see all the dogs that we have today. I did a video a long time ago that the majority of dogs, just in the last couple hundred years, you have hundreds of new dogs that were bred. And here's the last one I just kind of want to put in here is, again, this is variations with the gene code. If you look at the black panther and the cheetah and the jaguar and the leopard and the tiger, all these animals, the common ancestor is this thing is a cat. And this is what the Bible says, is animals will bring forth after their kind. But that doesn't mean that, cats evolved from fish, or will go into the giraffes or birds. And this is just kind of stuff that you see in the textbooks. And I can point it out all the time. So that's it. That's all I wanted to bring up, is animals will reproduce after their kind. The Bible confirms it. And I thought it was pretty cool to see in the secular article just confirming that unicorns do exist, but don't get it confused with what we see now of, just the white horses with a long horn and the rainbows and the wings. No, that's not what a unicorn is. Back in the 1600s, the King James talked about this. It was some type of massive beast with a horn. And when you see fossils turn up, it just continues to confirm the Bible. Science is always catching up to the Bible. So that's it. Release our main segment every Monday. And then I put out a couple videos a week, just some short segments, just various other topics as apologetics and other teachings about the Bible. So if you haven't already, like, subscribe, share. We just hit 500 subs. I appreciate all you guys watching every week. And we'll see you guys next time.